back to Lumi Bros, #1 solar sales team in America. Guys, we have a very special podcast for you today with the SVP of Lumio, John Bankhead. This man runs all the back-end ops, helping us get all of our deals to install. If you guys haven't already though, make sure you guys are liking this video, subscribe to the channel, smash that subscribe button right there. And before we get into the podcast, guys, we've got our All Bread, No Bagels t-shirts. I'm putting the link in the description right here. This is our first ever #1 sales team in America t-shirt. So we're very excited about it. We got them available in white and black, limited edition. So make sure you guys copy your shirt today, and let's get into today's podcast. All right, Lumi Bros, we have a very special podcast today. This is Mr. John Bankhead.
What's up, Lumi Nation?
Lumi Nation, appreciate you for taking the time today, John. Guys, this is the SVP of Lumio Central, John Bankhead, one of the founders of Lumio.
Just the janitor.
Just the janitor. That's what Oscar says. No, I'm just joking. You know, Oscar loves you. You guys started this thing together. The opportunity for the Lumi Bros is only possible because of you guys. And guys, I'm very excited today. If you're interested in learning about how a top producing team can go out there and work with the back end effectively to get everything to install, then this is the podcast for you, because John is in charge of operations.
Yep.
Works with Cody Nakaya, you know, all these guys making it so that we're getting like 250, almost 300 installs a week.
That's right.
Which is crazy. So
we'll throw up a podcast with Cody Nakaya too.
I would love to.
It'd be very helpful.
Yep.
We'll do that as well.
A lot of respect for you guys. So let's just dig into it, man. I guess just first thing, like before we kind of go into your background, where is Lumio Central at right now? Like, how are we doing? What are your day-to-day, your days look like? And then we'll also go into, like, you know, for us as a sales team, how you work with us. But just what does a day in the life of John Bankhead look like, man?
Dude, putting out fires, honestly. Making sure that guys are content, making sure installs are getting pushed. We'll get into some of the stuff that's going to help you guys get glass on the roof as quickly as possible. But then also making sure that realistically the workforce, our installers, are getting taken care of.
Yep.
You know, sometimes they're overlooked. I know they're not perfect, they make mistakes, but they mean well.
Yep.
And they're very motivated because they're paid on a tiered system to be able to get jobs installed. So they're motivated just like sales guys are, in a sense. So our goals are aligned. So that helps them to be able to install in a quick time period. But being able to make sure that they're consistently fed is one of our hardest things, because we're running the whole state. We have all these different sales offices that we're trying to help, and being able to have a constant pipeline that's there. So these guys are constantly fed and getting installs, so that way they're not potentially going a couple of days without getting work, because they make their money when they install.
Yep.
They get a small hourly wage, but that's not where they make money. They've got to be putting glass on the roof.
Yep.
And so that's why we love being able to have you guys go out and blitz these towns. You guys are feeding these families. You got to look at that too. You're helping support a lot of these installers, and it's changed their lives. So we have, you know, hundreds of installers that you guys are supporting. So we appreciate all the hard work that guys are putting in to make sure that they have jobs.
Yep. And that's exactly what Kobe Barry said on the last podcast we did. He's in charge of the operations for Houston, as you know.
Kobe's amazing.
Kobe's incredible. So we'll put that podcast right here. But honestly, man, like, you know, you have 7 warehouses across the state of Texas.
That's right.
You're running ops around the whole state of Texas. It's incredible. I don't know how you do it. So let's go back to the beginning. Where's John Bankhead from? How did you grow up? How did you get into the door-to-door industry? And just how did all of this happen? And what were some of your experiences, you think, that led to you being able to now manage this? Because it takes a certain type of person to be able to manage this and be a firefighter, right?
Yep. Yeah. So from a small town up in northern Utah, farm town, honestly, went to regular schools, just grew up really humbly. I was embarrassed to bring people over to my home, like my family's home. You know, it's not that we were necessarily, we didn't live without, but we didn't have, right? You know what I mean, at the same time. So I just learned how to work, and that's all I knew, because I literally grew up outside of the city, so to say. And so really I had my family and a couple of friends, but really all I knew was work, and that's what my dad always had me do.
Yep.
He was always on top of me, making me do different jobs on the farm. So that's all I knew.
And you were talking about that before we started rolling here.
Yep.
You were waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. most days, and you said you were moving pipe. So what all went into that? Yeah,
so sprinkler pipe, you have an irrigation, you're irrigating a crop, and you have, let's say, 12 sets. And so you move them, usually you're up at 4 or 5 depending, and then you're moving at 4 or 5 at night. So during the day, you're still working on the farm, but then you'd pick up a pipe, move it to the next set, and then put them all together, and then turn the water on, and then it would have a 12-hour set. Then you have to go back in 12 hours and move that again. And we had, you know, close to 40 of those going at the same time. So each field had 40 different fields that we had to go move pipe on. So that's all. I would spend a lot of my time doing that during the summer, at least.
Did you like it?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know any better.
Right.
But that's all I knew, right?
Yep.
So I didn't know any better. But I then, after growing up on the farm, I went on a mission for our church, a 2-year mission.
With LDS?
LDS mission.
Cool.
Learned how to speak Spanish, went to Uruguay.
Wow.
Learned how to set goals,
Yep.
learned how to do hard things, and then came back from my mission and was on a date with a girl at it was at Cold Stone, went to some ice cream place, and I ran into a friend, and he had gone out and sold security the year before and told me he'd made like 60K. I thought I was king of the mountain with 18 grand in my bank account because I'd actually sold cows and saved money, right? Yeah, and so I thought I was big time. Yeah. But as soon as he told me that, I was like, dude, I can do that. He didn't even recruit me. He just told me what he made. And I showed up it was at then Apex or Vivint. They were just transitioning at the time. Showed up to the building, and I was the biggest laydown ever. I just went, and I was like, dude, this kid said he made this much money. I want to do this. Yeah.
What year would that have been?
I was 2010.
Okay.
2010. So cool. A long time ago, dude.
Yeah.
Went out, and it was kind of crazy my first year doing it. Like, I didn't know any better, right? And so they went to Alaska the year before, and everyone was selling lights out. It was easy for them. But then we went to Quad Cities in Iowa, in Illinois.
Yeah, by Bettendorf.
Yep. And selling where the Field of Dreams is. And it's like, no one needs security out there, right? It's super safe. So these guys went
safe.
Yeah, these guys went from basically lay down city, so to say. They weren't working the hours to they kind of got their butts kicked, honestly. And I didn't know any better. And so I was actually leading the team, not knowing what I was doing, but I just was leading because I just knew how to work the hours.
You didn't know what it was before.
That's right.
So this is all you know.
I had no expectation, and I just went hard.
You were gonna make 60 grand.
Yep. And I had my managers following me that first year. They'd come knock doors with me because they're like, what are you doing?
Right.
I wasn't doing anything special, rather than just having a good attitude and working hard and not letting someone that's saying no to me affect how I'm going to approach the next door. That's all it was. At nighttime, I wrote my pitch out. I would watch the sales videos. I put in the time after hours to be able to demand the success that I wanted during the time when I was on the doors, right? So it was kind of unique to be able to have managers, and I didn't know any better, but they were always asking me what I was doing. And it was kind of cool because that year I was one of the #1 rookies in the company that year. And
I know a little bit about that.
That's right. That's right. And I didn't know any better, right?
Yep.
But then, doing sales for as long as I did, in the early times, I was always looking for the silver bullet of what made someone uber successful. Because I went from selling 120 something accounts my first year with security, and then I actually had a down year because I took like a $10,000 bonus and it poisoned me. It was awful. Never do that. And so I went with Pinnacle for a little bit, but then went back, and I just didn't work as hard. And I learned a lot from that. But then I went from selling 150 at my third year, and then all of a sudden I just popped to 300.
Wow.
And all it was just I was starving to get on doors. I looked at what I could control. Yep. And I knew what I could control was the time I put on the doors and when I got off. And I focused on that, and that made all the difference because I still had the hunger to train and do everything after hours too. And it made a big difference. But then I got complacent with Vivint because I was making really good money. I was selling to the best of my ability, but I got complacent because I wasn't moving anywhere. I was kind of stagnant. Then moved down to Texas 4 years ago.
Real quick too, with that 300, about what does that pay? 300 accounts in
300 accounts in security and managing. Like I was making between 3 and right shy of 400,000 every year, roughly. So pretty good income, right? So it wasn't bad, but again, I just didn't feel like I was fulfilled because I knew that there was more out there.
And that was like 2014?
Yeah, that was like, starting in 2013 to 2018 is when I was really, I was hitting those numbers pretty consistently.
So then you moved to Texas.
Moved to Texas.
So you want to know why I'm excited about this part? Because I know the other side of the story. So I know when you first showed Ian Atkinson, who we've had on the podcast a bunch with Lumi Bros, his first time sitting home with you, right? And as you guys are walking out, he's like, how much did you make on that deal? And you're like, dude, I made like $11,000. And he's like, oh, dude, it's on,
Yeah.
So for you, how did you then transition into solar? And who was the first person that you sat at home with? Or what was your first experience?
I was out there in that area, and me and Oscar had always competed against each other because I was with Vivint, he was with Zenith. We'd always competed, but the first time I ever met him, I actually beat him on a deal.
Yeah.
So put him in his place.
There you go.
I'm his daddy.
Yeah. Nice.
But no, what happened, we just kind of looked at it, the situation. We're like, no one's making money on this.
Right.
We're both going to be here. Let's just respect each other's areas. And so that's what we kind of did. So over the years, we kind of grew a relationship because, there's some guys in security that are tool bags. They'd come in and be aggressive and try to compete with Oscar, but he's doing his own thing. He can control it a lot more, so we weren't getting paid. So I'd always step in and kind of stand up for Oscar and be like, hey guys, you're wasting your time. So we kind of built a relationship, but when we first came into solar, we ran into some guys, we thought they were other security guys knocking, told us they were selling solar. I'd actually looked into solar in 2014, about moved to Hawaii, so I knew all about it.
You're gonna move to Hawaii?
Yeah, I was about to, but
wow.
They talked me out of it because they said security's better, and I was young and dumb, didn't understand, so I just kept doing what I knew. So I looked into it though pretty heavily and about made the jump, but so I already knew about solar. I'd always kind of liked the idea, so we looked at it, and dude, they showed some checks what they were making. I didn't believe it because it was just too good to be true, right? Because I'd always was under the understanding that to make the kind of money you could make in door-to-door security and pest, like I'd heard solar you could make good money, but it was year-round, and typically people weren't getting paid because they had so many jobs canceling.
Right.
So jumped into it. We found a couple of guys. We went with originally with Elevation.
What year was that?
That was the beginning of 2019. Beginning of 2019.
Not that long ago, man.
No, not that long ago at all. And where I already kind of knew about it. I sold 3 my first Saturday knocking it. Like I literally didn't know a pitch, no nothing. I just kind of put it together in my head of what would make sense because I didn't want what other companies or other expectations. I didn't want that to dilute or poison my mind of what was possible with solar. Because this other company, we'd met with them and we told them we were going to do 100 a month, and they just laughed at us. We ended up doing 130 something that month. Like it's just you put a ceiling on something, and then your expectations set there. You got to live without a lid, and so that's how we did it, and we just blew up. But
yeah, now you've got just
funny thing
now
is
you got just one team doing 100 a month.
That's right. But the funny thing is though, is that I sold those 3 on Saturday, and supposedly I was going to make $26,000, but I didn't believe it. So I actually went back to selling security because I wanted to see that it was real first. So I went back to selling what I knew. But in the meantime, we were still selling for that company, and it was kind of building up. Eventually those got installed. It took a long time. It took almost 2.5, 3 months. But then I got 26 grand positive from those 3 deals. And I knew right then and there that I can control my own destiny, and I went hard at it because the only thing that was keeping me at Vivint is the promise of some equity that they had promised. But equity's great; it's real. It's real here at Lumio because it's with Vivint. The first transaction was real because there wasn't any private investment that had taken over or any private equity guys. They just came in and they're sharks, dude. So those people got paid, but then the second transaction, which I was a part of, that I was supposed to get money from, I had about $3.5 million of supposed equity, right? But when I made that money, I knew that I could control $3.5 million with the kind of work that I could put in. So I didn't even think about staying. I knew exactly what I was doing at that point. And so that's why I went full in with solar, and dude, the rest is history, dude. We just started recruiting our own installers. We did everything in-house because we were losing accounts because they sat for so damn long. And so we started to do our own installs, learn from that. And so me and Oscar, a lot of people don't realize, we got on the roof multiple times on Saturdays and Sundays. Me more than Oscar, by the way.
Do you have pictures of that?
Yeah.
Can you send them us and we'll put them right here?
Yeah. I'd drive the truck in the morning. We'd wake up, drive, go get the equipment.
Don't mind her. Don't mind our head sales guy for Zenith just delivering parts.
We were very physically involved with everything, so we learned the process A to Z, and we knew what it took. And dude, the hours were long. Like for the first year, we didn't pay ourselves really. We put everything back into the business, buying trucks, buying equipment, investing in the installers, investing in our sales teams, because we were literally, moving equipment in the morning, doing a sales training, going back out and helping the technicians, selling, and then at the end of the night, making sure that all the trailers were brought in, making sure everything was locked up and done. So I mean, they were, it was crazy. We were working from literally from 6 in the morning to 7 in the morning, all the way till 9:30 to midnight at night, depending. Typically, it was always the midnight when me and Oscar were always together. So that's how it started, and that's how it grew. And we quickly discovered that when guys came on and they saw the money, it's not even recruiting at that point. It's just, hey, when do you want to start? Because they see the checks and they see the opportunity, and it was up to us to make sure that it was getting installed. And so I just kind of took the reins on this. And I'm not from ops originally. I've always done ops. All I know is sales. That's all I know. But,
so how did you make that transition to ops then?
Well, just naturally, I've always been a builder. I love using my hands and working hard, right? So I always, my brother's a master electrician. I'm technically I have my hours if I took the test, journeyman, because I have so many hours as an apprentice.
Pretty cool.
So I just like that kind of thing. I installed multiple security systems because I'd sell so many accounts in a given area, and the technicians couldn't keep up. So I'd go grab deadbolts, thermostats, or panels, and I had my own drill and tools, and I'd go start knocking them out so that way they could catch up, so I could get back out and keep them busy. And so I was always in that mindset. So when I took over, being able to talk to the installers and be able to help out on the install side, it just naturally, and Oscar helped as well too, but it's just we're more like, I'm still involved with sales and recruiting as much, and Oscar is too, right? So we're we're the yin and yang. We're complete opposites, but I have weaknesses and he has strengths, and from my point of view, he has weaknesses.
He's like the sales guy and you are the ops guy, even though you are the sales guy too.
That's right.
Are you okay with that? That's people's perception,
Yeah, I'm a team player, so I do whatever it takes to make sure everyone wins. What a lot of people don't know is Oscar might have sold 300 and whatever he says.
82 accounts in a year.
Dude, I sold 205, but my kilowatts were right neck and neck.
Yeah.
Because I always sold county. He'd sell a 7 kilowatt job. I'd sell a 17, 18 kilowatt job. So I'm selling 2 of his jobs in one, right? Yeah. So kind of cool. I can flex on him on that.
A little bit of a detour, but what's your approach on the doors? Like, where did you see the most success? Some advice for the guys.
Yeah, so my bread and butter on an approach is I just used what I had done for 10 years. I knew that I had to get in the home. I knew that I had to do something different than the previous rep that had knocked on the door. So my approach is really simple. I just would ask them right off the bat, hey, what's going on? Sorry to bother you. I know I'm the last person you want to see right now, but I'm guessing you have had maybe one of our guys stop by. If it's an area that's been knocked a lot, if it's county, then I'll be like, hey, I'm sure you got in the letter that talks about how you can actually have your meter run backwards. You can get paid for the energy you put back into the grid. And they say yes or no. It's like, okay, cool. So it's pretty quick, but it's pretty cool. Like your meter right now, there's 2 little blinds and they run to the right. And every 30 days, your utility company sends you a bill. If you pay it, your power stays on. If you don't pay it, what happens?
Well,
they cut it off, right? So my job is to make sure that the meter runs backwards. And one of the biggest consumers of electricity in your home is going to be your HVAC system. What type of thermostat do you currently use?
That's how you get home. Honeywell. What do they call Honeywell?
I transition in. Is it a Honeywell? Is it a smart thermostat? Is it 2-wire, 3-wire? Is it black or blue? Doesn't matter. Just something to be able to get them on the hook to be like, okay, well, let me take a look and say, I'll show you kind of why it makes so much sense for people.
Ian taught you how to do that one?
Yeah, no.
I'm just joking.
No.
You taught him.
No, I taught Ian that. No, Ian's amazing. But,
he is.
But literally, I'll go back, go into the home, and then once you're in the home, you're friends now. Right? That barrier of trust for them to let you in the home, you're now friends. You're at a friendship level. And so now you can do a lot more at that. And what I always typically do when I started the presentation or start the sales process, I think this is very important. I don't think a lot of people use it, that they should, is I establish what I'm doing before they know it. Because the best way to overcome an objection is to bring it up first, right? So I established the base of, hey, if you don't mind me asking, I'm guessing you guys at one point rented your home. Did you ever rent an apartment or a home before? Yeah, okay. What made you decide to buy a home, if you don't mind me asking? and they'll tell me, oh, this and this and this, and then, so they'll usually bring up they were tired of renting, throwing their money away, so they get that right. I'm like, and then I also establish at the same point, now that they know that they're buying their home and why they're bought their home, so I know who they are. Then I bring up the next question. I'm like, okay, and if you don't mind me asking, if you looked at your home, what part of your house do you feel is the most underutilized spot? And they'll think, and they'll be like, probably, the back room or the garage. It's like, okay, cool. And that's pretty common. A lot of people say that. But what I do is, and a lot of people don't realize this, is the most underutilized part of your home is probably your roof. When's the last time you had a picnic up there?
Nice.
And they're like, never. I was like,
right.
Yeah, right? And it's like, so what my job is to make use of the property that you have here and make sure you're getting the biggest return on your money and utilizing a part of your home that you never use. So it's really simple. So I've established from the beginning that they don't like to rent. They bought their home because it's a big investment. And then I've also cornered them in the sense that they know that they never use their roof. So aesthetics or any other kind of objection down the road is not going to be there, because it's like, dude, you're paying for your home. Let's utilize all of your home, not just parts of your home.
I haven't heard that one before. That one's good.
So establish that. Yeah, dude, it's freaking money. So I established that, and then everyone knows the rest of the sales. You guys have seen all the sales videos.
Yep.
I just keep going, and then the most important part is making sure that you understand that when they have an objection, you just gotta go back in the sales circle, listen to it, and understand it, and then go right back to the close, right? And you just go back through to, you gotta antidote what their question is or what their objection is, and then you go right back to a close. And I always utilized, different closing methods to be able to get it across the finish line. But establishing that first base is really important, because they know they bought the home and they never used their roof.
Yep.
And it makes them think the whole time when I'm presenting everything else that those are two facts that they never thought of. And it's really, really helpful to be able to close the deal down the road, because you can utilize it. Like you said, the reason why you chose to buy your home is because you wanted to build equity, right? And the same thing, like being able, what you're paying for your home every month, it makes sense to utilize the entire home. And that's why so many people love this. It's why people wonder why they didn't do it sooner. That's the only complaint I ever get. People call me and say, John, why didn't I do this sooner? It's like, that's a great question.
Yep. Boom. Boom, Shagalaga. That's good. That's good. I like that.
I'm telling you, I got Oscar's number. It's easy.
Yeah. So what they say, good salesmen are able to overcome objections. Great salesmen are able to overcome them before they're even an objection,
That's right.
which is what you're doing.
That's right.
So my next question is kind of like an intertangled question.
Okay.
But so you and Oscar, you partner up.
Yep.
You got Deca, now Lumio. Can you just kind of share with us some of the highlights through that process? And while you're doing that, all the advice that you've got for sales reps, sales managers, regionals, VPs, for how they can work with ops effectively to be able to get everything to install. So you get that question, kind of like just tell the journey, and through the journey, advice you got for people just to be able to work with ops effectively.
So I think the journey for y'all, like it's because I could go on for hours about it. I learned a lot. What I think the most important piece of the journey is making sure that you're reaching out to people that aren't taking advantage of this opportunity. The part of the journey that's kind of hurt me the most is seeing guys that aren't taking advantage of what this is. And I don't think a lot of people realize it. Like I'm 35. I'm not like by any means old, but I feel old, right?
Do you?
I do. But you're what, 24?
No, I'm 28. I'll be 28 in December.
28, still damn young, dude.
Yep.
Like really young.
Yeah.
We have guys that are 23 or what have you. They don't know anything better. They just think that this money's here to stay. It's not.
Right.
And so we have a ton of guys that have let off the gas because they get comfortable and make really good money. And they shouldn't look at the money. They should look at what the money can do for them and how their livelihood and their life and their time will change if they invest that money wisely and correctly. Because I can promise you, if solar ended tomorrow, there's a lot of people that would be living with regret right now.
Oh,
so you got to, and the most important aspect is, if you looked at your kids or your wife or your significant other down the road from 6 years from now, and would you live with regret? That's how you got to live every day.
Yep.
And you got to know that this opportunity is not here to stay. It's going to change. Commissions will change. You got to take advantage, and we've got to be able to help guys to be working with us because they want to rather than have to.
Right.
Like that's my mantra. I truly believe that guys have the opportunity here to be able to make the income and invest it properly to have their passive income exceed their expenses in a 2-3 year period of time if they're grinding and not just accepting a $50,000 a month. They need to not get comfortable. They need to be uncomfortable the entire time and strive to hit to the next level, which is what the Lumi Bros is badass at.
And you're badass at investing. I've heard about you from Oscar and from Ian and Tanner. They say that you're just the thing about, you know, growing up on the farm to now being able to buy farmland. It's kind of cool, right?
That's right.
You're buying farmland in Idaho.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Stuff like that. That's pretty cool.
100%.
Pretty cool. So,
but as far as working with the ops,
so you got someone like me, or you got someone brand new that just started last month. They've got a team of 10 guys, and their goal is to go out there and close 30 deals next month.
Okay.
What is the biggest advice that you've got for them? Because you know the first part, right? You submit the deal, you qualify them, you submit it to ops.
Right.
And then on the back end, like what's like the biggest advice you got for guys? Where are you seeing guys fall short, and where are you seeing guys find success?
So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And what I mean by that is when you do these sales, like the front end process, we've invested a lot into our IP stack with SoFlow. You can now get into OtsFlow, track your jobs and everything. But most of the accounts where they're getting held up is missing utility bill or a site survey. The site survey is honestly one of our secret sauces of what Lumio does, right? We allow our guys, and what Deca has done, we allow our guys to do the site survey because we don't want an hourly employee that's doing the site survey to show up to your job, which pretty much every solar company does, and get there, the homeowner questions them and they don't know what's going on. There's so many cancels that happen from that. But then there's also time that's lost because you're taking 2 to 3, 4 days to get the site survey done, or they go to the wrong house, or you know, it's endless, right? Or they didn't submit the pictures. Like there's so many things that can happen. The person that cares the most about the account, no matter what, is the sales rep. 100%. You have more on the line than anybody else. Anybody else. And so you're going to treat it differently, right? I have really good employees. We have amazing employees here, but they have a lot of accounts to look at. They have a lot of things to do.
1,000 a month.
Right? So you've got to treat your account at the level of respect that it deserves, because if you want to make professional money, you got to treat it professionally.
Correct.
So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, going back to that.
Love it.
Making sure that the site survey is done correctly, and we're releasing some new content. We actually recorded today
right now
a site survey to make sure that it's done right. If you make sure that the STIPs are cleared, you make sure that the loan docs are signed, the install agreements are signed, and it has to match to the penny. So the loan docs and the install docs match to the penny, and you do a thorough and complete site survey. That's what's in your control. And there's no reason or as to why we shouldn't be pushing those jobs really quickly, and it shouldn't be going through. The caveat to that is our designs previously were done by a couple of third parties. We're starting to bring those in-house, which is helping significantly. The reason that's helping is all these different jurisdictions and HJs have certain requirements for a solar system to get installed. And they change those requirements pretty consistently. So the code years, they changed fire setbacks, they changed different things. And if we submit a permit packet to them and the designs, and it's not up to the code year or some small simple thing, it gets rejected. So then you have 3 or 4 days or 6 days or a month waiting to get that permit just to get it rejected, and then having to revise it and submit it again. So we're getting a lot better at that because that's on our side. We have to control that. And I'm on that on a daily basis with Tyler, Lorena, and our design teams. They're doing a lot better. They've come a long ways, but there's more area of improvement. But that's an issue that's on our side that's controllable, and I'm making sure I'm fixing that to the best of my ability. But there's still a huge portion of the site survey where we're getting a lot of people that are getting hiccups that aren't getting their jobs moving along because of a missing utility bill or a bad angle on a picture. We're trusting that site survey to be able to make these designs, and it has to be done correctly. And literally an extra 3 to 5 minutes of spending making sure the pictures are done, because it puts yourself in the designer's shoe or the engineers, right, that are doing this. And imagine what they're going to need if they don't have a clear picture of a roof, or it's a grainy picture. How do you expect them to be able to put a design and fit the panels like how you want them, right? Because the proposal tool is really just to throw it on there. It's not accurate. You can't think that because it shows this on the proposal, all the panels are going to fit. Not the case at all. So the more the pictures are clear and easy to read, the better. And then going to the utility bill, there's actually two parts there. The utility bill, we want the front and the back, of course, all the information on it. Now, if there isn't, there's a template that we want filled out, and it has to be the customer's name that's on the utility bill, and then the meter number and a couple other items of information, so that when we submit for the design, we can actually put all that information on the designs, because we also submit that design not only to the city for permitting, we submit it to the utility at the same time. And that way they can get the interconnection started. And that's a very important process. So that's why I'm saying an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, because if you do a good site survey and don't skip it, and don't take a picture of your boot, don't take a picture of your thumb, don't take a picture of some random thing and put it in there thinking, oh, I'm just gonna skip it, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because it's actually causing a lot of delays down the road just because you didn't put in that little bit of effort, which you've already closed the deal. And you can actually use those as soft closes. Like, look at it as the glass is always half empty. Sorry, is always half full instead of half empty. That's how you got to always look at things. So you've got to be able to strategize and look, okay, well, if I have to get these photos, I'm going to start to implement that as part of my close, to be like, hey, and you can tell that they're on the edge of deciding if they're going to do it or not. Like soft closes, you don't ever want to do hard closes. So it's like, hey, I need a couple pictures. And then that way, if they're moving along with you and allowing you to get those pictures, they're showing you their electrical panel, they're showing you these things. Those are soft closes, to where sometimes when you're in the cell and you don't know where to go, I have all these different tactics in my quiver that I'm gonna use. Like, hey, what type of thermostat? We actually get you a Nest or an Ecobee. Which one would you rather? Option closing. 2 option closing. Yep, we got to go back over to your meter to make sure that this thing qualifies. I got to get a picture anyways. If they get up and follow you, you know that they're obviously following along. Like, but if they're like, no, then you know you got to go back and explain it, and then you go through the objection, everything else, and you're like, again, I need to go get a picture of that. And if they follow you, you went over the objection. Like, learn to use it as an advantage rather than an inconvenience. Because if you look at it as an inconvenience, your installs are going to take a lot longer. But if you're looking at it as an opportunity to close, an opportunity to be able to move the job quicker, that's what's going to happen. And we want our guys to get paid. Like, if guys are getting paid, you're looking good, we're looking good. They're recruiting, they're naturally seeing it. Because most people don't understand the opportunity until they get paid, and then their eyes open and they become a new person. So I want guys, I'm here at this company today because I want guys to become financially independent, and I do not want them not to get paid. I want them to get paid. And so that's something that can really help us a lot with the ops. Everything else, we're getting into Arrivy. That should be about 3-4 weeks away. What Arrivy is it's an app that your customer and you will both get a text message day of install, and you'll be able to track the installer real time. Cool. So it's going to be a little truck, and you can actually track where they're at, so you know where they're at. Kind of like Lyft. That's right. Or Uber. Yeah, exactly. Cool. Same thing. Yep. And you can see the map. You can know where they're at, what they're doing, and there's two that's awesome for y'all, but then it also holds them accountable, knowing that they're being tracked. Of course. So there's a lot of good things that are going to happen from that. Love it. So we're implementing a lot of processes to make sure, but the main reason this whole thing went down with Lumio, it's been the best decision we've ever made. It was hard for anyone that was here. The transition, it was hard in the beginning, but now it's scalable. Well, it's interesting. I think people are starting to see that how scalable this thing is, because most of these companies, there's a lot of companies out there that were like a Zenith or like a Deca, but they're running around with their heads cut off. You're not getting customers PTO'd, and then there's a lot of things that are happening with interest rates going up, dealer fees happening, and clawbacks are becoming a real thing. So people are starting to become very cash poor and not able to pay their installers and sales reps. It's happened multiple times. And so that's why it's so important to have a scalable company and a scalable, for you guys to be able to grow your teams and not have to worry about a cap or worry about if you're going to get paid. And so that's why we've invested so heavily in this. And I know people are starting to see the benefits of it. And it's just the beginning. They're going to get that much better. And where we control that IP, y'all are who we need to talk to know what we need to do and what we need to improve. And I think the secret sauce to us is we're all, me, Oscar, you know, any of the leadership here, we're all sales reps, we're all sales guys. and we want to make sure everyone's getting treated the same. You're our customers, and that's our whole outlook.
Yep. It is interesting though, like hearing about how other people had kind of like a crazy experience when the merger happened, right?
Yeah.
Because I came in right when it happened. Like I was in here in November.
Yeah, you didn't know anything
different.
Yeah, you didn't know anything different.
Oh, this is what it is. You know,
yeah, some of our existing, a lot of our existing employees, they went from, we were literally operating essentially on a notepad. Like we had Feel Quick, and Feel Quick was
off. Feel Quick.
Yeah, it's very simple, but at the same time, it's simple to see what's going on, but then there's no automation to it. It's very hard to be able to scale a company with something like that. So naturally we had to switch over to Salesforce. Naturally we had to be able to, obviously adapt and be able to progress, because we were in a bad spot had we continued in that same rate, because we just weren't as good at the back end as we were at the front end. And now we're getting really, really good at the back end, and we're still really good at the front end. So it's pretty amazing when those two are starting to come together. And a lot of reps are, as they come on, they're not even going to know any better, and the guys that are here, they're seeing massive improvements compared to what it was.
No doubt.
Yeah.
We talked about scaling yesterday with Ian, so we're doing like 4 back-to-back podcasts. So I appreciate you getting in the mix with us. I know you don't like doing this kind of stuff, but I think this has been valuable as heck so far.
Dude, the Lumi Bros, number one solar company in the nation. Dude.
Number one solar sales team.
Same thing, right?
People think sometimes Lumi Bros are the company. No, we're just a sales team. Lumio's the company.
Right.
Dude, Ian said that your best ability is your availability. So, and then which was a heck of a good nugget for scaling, right? To scale and to grow and to manage. Your best ability is your availability. Say your one-liner there again one more time. I'm going to use that one. A grain of, what'd you say?
Oh, an ounce of prevention.
An ounce of prevention
is worth a pound of cure.
Incredible. Yeah. So no doubt what you've done here is phenomenal. You know, you guys, I mean, you're going to be able to IPO this company with Lumio a year, 2 years from now.
Yeah, we have a lot of good leadership here.
So just real quick, like the spark notes, like if you could just summarize it from when you and Oscar first partnered up to where we're at now, and then what you think is going to happen with us IPOing. Well, what you know is going to happen with us going public. What has that journey been from when you guys like the merger, the Christmas party last year, all the conversations in Lehigh, like what has that been like, and how's it gone down?
It's been a fire hose to the mouth, right? It's hard to take it all in, but again, takeaways is like at the end of the day, and why I come to work every day is the people like you and all this great leadership. It's so fun to be around a culture of guys that are dogs and grinders. That's what motivates me. I know that's not like probably what you're thinking that I would say, but dude, I've made a lot of money over the years, more than I ever thought I would ever make, right? But the money didn't make me happy. It's helping others. Like, for example, we were just sitting down with Xavier, and he had mentioned that John, this guy that he recruited, was lifting bags at a high-end hotel and doing luggage, and he made $30,000 like 2 months ago.
Life-changing.
It's crazy. That's why I love this job and I love this opportunity. Is it takes people that don't believe in themselves, because that's what I struggled with. Like, I have always struggled with confidence. I've always struggled with a lot of those things in my life, and I love seeing individuals, because everyone has their vices, everyone has their things they struggle with, but I love seeing guys change their expectations and their paradigm, and just exceeding it by such a long shot that they look back and they're just like, wow, I was thinking way too small. And so it's really amazing to see so many people see that, and then making sure that they're taking advantage of that and not just throwing away that potential, because in all reality, when they're being complacent, they're throwing that away. So they got to respect it.
I think that life is made of moments. You look at those moments when you were 10, 11, 12, working on the farm, and then moments when you and Oscar were partnered up, moments when you guys did the $100 million merger or whatever it was, and this moment where you guys are going to IPO. Like, what have been those moments? Like, what were those moments like when you guys were like turning into Lumio? Like, what did that feel like?
It felt amazing, right? Like, and to be honest, like the reason I did this was I knew, again, that our back end, our scalability wasn't there, and I was in over my head. We were managing and operating at such a high level with so many accounts that I was fearful of if we could maintain it. And I knew that my inability in certain areas, we needed other people to be able to help out. And so that's why we did this, because we have so many experts that help, but yet we're still allowing our reps and everyone to control the narrative on making sure that we control the site survey. We're still maintaining that control. But yeah, I mean, amazing feelings, right? To go through all this, it's in awe, right? I pinch myself all the time, and I tell reps, people, I mean, you should be pinching yourself every time too, because you know, you look at and the way that I view the money that people are making is I look at it as time. I mean, that's all money is, right? It should buy you freedom and time. And if you can go out there and make 7 figures in 1 year, that's worth realistically 7 years of your life that you bought back. It's yours because you've chosen to work hard and delay self-gratification right now, but you just got 7 years back. And if you do that 3 years in a row, you can retire. That's what I'm saying. Like literally, that's the unique opportunity that we have, and we owe it to anybody that you've been associated with before, your parents. Like, it's a disrespect because they didn't have this opportunity, and it's a disrespect not to live up to the opportunity, because genuinely, you know how hard your parents probably worked. You know, I know how hard my family worked. And it's a disrespect not to take advantage of such a unique opportunity. And that's really what I always come down to. And that's why I wake up every day and come to work, because I want people to take advantage of that opportunity. And we're boots on ground, working hard. And that's what makes us pretty unique.
And guys, we feel like this is the best opportunity in solar. We know this is the best opportunity in solar right now. And we've said it a bunch of times. You know, we're in-house, in-house installation. You know, we're going public. We have, the biggest banks in the world, helping finance everything that we've got going on. We do not have any shortage in panels. We've got panels in stock in 7 warehouses across the state of Texas. But in your words, John, just to wrap up this incredible podcast, why is Lumio the best option in solar right now, the best opportunity in solar and the Lumi Bros, right? And what would just be your advice and motivation for Lumi Bro Nation as we head into Q4 of 2022?
Hell yeah, dude, great work. Now, I'd say that, in my opinion, the reason why Lumio is so unique of an opportunity, because there's a lot of solar companies you can choose from. We're looking down the road further. We have a lot of talented individuals that are looking at microeconomics of what's going to happen, where it's going to be, to make sure you guys are protected. We're investing in the IP stack for guys to come in and be able to easily get on this, and you're not having to spend a ton of time training guys and having to put a ton of time on, because you only have so much time in the day. So we're helping with training, so that way that's all done for you. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think what makes us very unique is, again, at our core, we're all sales reps here. And so you look at these other companies, most of them are corporate guys that are coming in and trying to take advantage, and they don't know what they're doing. Like there's another company that we just recruited a large sales force over to us just recently. He came from security. They all came from security, and they thought that they could just come into this and not put in the time. They thought, because we about recruited this guy, and he was like, I don't want to work with certain people. I want to be them. So he went out and did this, and they've fallen flat on their face, unfortunately, because they didn't see when I was driving the truck at 6 a.m. in the beginning. They didn't see me hopping on the roof, lugging down and finding the rafters, putting the rail in. They didn't see me training the sales force. They didn't see me boots on ground. Champions are recognized in the ring. That's it. What do they put? You don't look. It's not sexy how they got there. No one wants to. No one reads into that. They just get exciting about the championship match and how he got there. That's all they care about. But they don't know all the unsexy, unmotivating hours that he put in to get there. So there's no shortcuts to success. There isn't. And so that's where I think we're unique. We know what it takes. We know how to get there. And we truly care about our people. So that whole team that came over, they're seeing the difference, because they had all these promises of what it can be, and they're not fulfilling. They've installed on wrong homes. They're taking 6 months, and they don't even have that big of a pipeline. Like, they have all these issues. So all of that, like, we put in the time to know the scenarios to make sure we can solutionize and make sure you guys are getting paid. So that's what's unique to us, and I feel like we do it the quickest. Obviously the currency of solar is speed. And we focus on that daily and make sure that we live to those values.
Rocket ship.
Lumi Bros.
Lumi Bros. Hey, I'll second that too. And it's just like, what motivated me when I came in here was you and Oscar's story. You know, 300 accounts, $7 million in personal commissions in 1 year, like crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's a motor. And then I feel like where we are having success and why we're the #1 team in America is because we've got the best sales trainer, we've got the best media director, we've got the best back end, right? And then it's just that motor. But people got to realize, like, you can't just come in here and expect to make $1 million without putting in the work. And so
That's
it's
right.
like, for me, like, I want to hit VP. I'd love to hit VP, but
right.
what Tanner and Ian, all these other VPs have done, like, I haven't done that yet. And I can't just expect to be given, right? This, I have to earn it.
No, 100%.
The only way I'm going to do it is if I can really bring in, you know, hundreds of reps into this, help them all make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's like, you have to put in the work to do that, and you have to do the unsexy stuff. So it's like, I look at my day-to-day, it's like, I got to go get medals engraved. When I got into this industry, I didn't think I'd have to go get medals engraved, but that's what you got to do as a regional. You got to get the incentives, the snapper hats. Like, those are the things that you don't ever think you're going to be doing, but you got to do it. And that's the role of a leader, I think, is just to do things that you don't want to do. And it's other stuff that people are not willing to do, but you do those things that other people aren't willing to do, and you'll have what other people will not have.
That's right.
And so at the end of the day, like, you know, when I came in here, 27 years old, I had to humble myself, knock those first couple doors. And this is after I've literally traveled the whole country. This is after I've managed $1 million real estate portfolio, you know, raised millions of dollars for nonprofits and been on the news 100 times. And now I'm out here at 27 years old, knocking on doors for solar. And I think, like, you just really have to humble yourself, you know,
right, 100%.
because this thing is the easiest job you'll ever have for the most amount of money you'll ever make, but you have to put in the work. You have to put in the hours, and no one's going to do it except for you.
That's right.
And so that's the biggest thing is, like, you know, we can say it till we're blue in the face. You know, we're the #1 solar sales team in America, but if you want to be a part of it, you have to put in the work.
That's right.
If you want to get the deals, you have to go and knock the doors. You have to work with the back end, and no one's going to do it for you except for you. So you've obviously, you know, you're where you're at because of the whole story, you know?
Right.
And I appreciate you for sharing that.
And I think something that's important is, I doubt that we've had anyone interview you for the podcast. Like, I can arguably say you're one of the hardest workers that's here at Lumio.
Bro, I appreciate that. Really?
No, 100%, dude. I'm not just making you feel good. Like, it's the truth. Like, success follows all those work, and that's what you have. Like, it's crazy to see how successful you are, but it's really cool that you're interviewing all of us, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that we need to make sure that we do a podcast with you, because your story is amazing. What you've done, how much work you put in. Like, I can honestly say, arguably, you're one of the hardest workers we have. Like, you put in the most time. For sure. On holidays, you're filming. On holidays, you're knocking. You know what I mean? Like, that's why Will's successful. Yeah. He's putting in the time. He's not trying to cheat. He's had opportunities probably to take on bonuses from other companies. They offer all these things, but he knows that
this is an opportunity.
That's what it is. You just got to put in the time.
And I'll say it too, like, you're a family man, you said you had 3 kids, one on the way. Like, that's what life's all about, guys, right? Like, the money doesn't make you happy. I look forward to being a family man someday, but the position I'm in right now, like, I just want to work. I can do this right now. If I had a family right now, I would not be able to work this hard. Yep. So I'm blessed for this opportunity right now. Honored to be able to podcast with you, John. I don't think a lot of people get to podcast with you. When's the last time you did a podcast?
Never. I hate cameras, dude.
Yeah. Well, you crushed it, bro. I appreciate you for sharing everything.
Yeah.
I guess just the last thing to bring us home. We just did 10 seasons with the Lumi Bros.
Okay.
The last Blitz, we called it Solidify, and we're all about solidifying ourselves in history as the #1 solar sales team in America, because we've been telling people it, but it's like we really want to, like, actually have that be a thing now, where it's like these guys are actually the #1 solar sales team in America. So last week, you know, again, you know, top region in the entire nation, which was kind of cool. Next month, we're calling it New Beginnings. So we're going to run it back and call it Season 1. We're not calling it Season 11. We're going to call it Season 1. And then in November, we're calling it the Anchor Blitz. So it's all about anchoring ourselves in this. And then the finish line, which I remember you bringing up the finish line earlier, that's going to be our December Blitz. So it's our last Blitz of the year. And then in January, it's going to be our Season 4, technically Season 14, but we're calling it Jordan Year. Okay. So for the next 10 months, what's your biggest motivation or inspiration for Lumi Bro Nation? Any words of encouragement for everybody watching that you would give us as the leader, SVP of Lumio Central?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you've done an amazing job with Lumi Bros, the culture, your mindsets that you guys all have there. Buying into that is going to help you push past any hardship that you're going through. Like, you know, you're having your goals of what you guys want to accomplish. Buying into that as a team. Mm-hmm. When you're knocking doors and you're not contributing, it's gonna push you harder, because on the next meeting or the next time that you guys are all together, you don't want to be the person that didn't achieve what everyone else is trying to achieve. So buying into that culture is real. buying into what Will's doing is extremely helpful. No one has that. He's investing so much into you guys, into this content to help you guys out. He has you guys in mind, but it's up to you to buy into it. Because sometimes, you know, people will be like, oh, this is cheesy or whatever, but no, your mind, people naturally want to be a part of a team. People naturally want to be able to feel that they're contributing, and that's what it is. And so if you can continue to buy into this, buy into where we're going, and buying into your culture, the sky's the limit. And just buying into that, your results will naturally be more than you thought, because you bought into a bigger vision, you bought into a bigger why, and that's what's important. Over the next 10 months when you're working, just remember why you're there, bring that why, have your goals, but then also buy into the culture, and the rest is history, because you will be motivated, because you're gonna be with that group and trying to hit those same goals.
Yep. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching another LumiCast with Mr. John Bankhead. I remember the first time you texted me, man, this would have been September 2021. You said, hey, man, congrats. I just done 17 deals in a week.
Amazing.
And I was like, who's this? Another customer, you know? And I was like, I'm just joking. How's it going, Mr. Bankhead? Nice to meet you. So from that moment, a year later to right now getting a podcast with you, I look forward to doing another one a year from now and seeing how far we come. Lumi Bros is the #1 solar sales team in America. We're a group of success-driven individuals who compete at the very highest level, believe it's our duty and obligation to be successful, and that no one will do it except for you. So I love getting to learn from John, the guy that helped create our company, and just, you know, you're a trailblazer. You know, you've led the way, and now we're just going along this trail, which is the modern day gold rush, the greatest transfer of wealth in our generation. So this opportunity is not going to last forever. So if you guys want to be a part of it, send us a message on Instagram.
Let's go.
And you can also reach out to John Bankhead. I'm just joking. He doesn't want you to reach out to him. I remember when you were at the Christmas party with us last year, you were talking about Mark Cuban. And then I was like, what's your biggest advice for people to be successful? You're just like, reach out to Will. You don't like the podcast, so that just makes us even more special. So thank you again for
Will, you've done an amazing job. Congrats, dude.
Thank you, bro.
And anybody that's with you is going to have success. That's guaranteed.
Awesome. Well, likewise, bro. Appreciate you again.
Yeah.
And until next time.
Okay.
All right, bro. Appreciate it.